Here's Flander's friend, chapter 20, tells Mum about Arthur. Tim said his goodbyes and he walked home feeling 2 feet tall. The boxing lessons had definitely improved his confidence. He just wasn't sure if he had the guts to use them again. When Tim arrived home, his mum was watching TV and a pan of stew was bubbling on the hob. It smelled delicious and Tim could feel his tummy rumbling and he couldn't wait to tuck in. Then they sat together at the table. It wasn't the same without Dad being there. The conversations were stilted and tired. How was your day? His mum asked as usual. Oh, it was okay, he said, and he decided to tell her about Arthur. She was surprised and shocked, and she began to ask him a lot of questions in rapid fire like a machine gun. And Tim was getting a headache, answering so many questions. Oh, Mum, he said, he's a lovely man. He's harmless, Tim said. If he's so harmless and lovely, then why does he live in the woods? She said, worried. Tim thought that was fair but a rude question. I think he was in the army, said Tim. He's always in combat gear, he added. That seemed to calm his mum down a little. And he's helping me to box, Tim spluttered out confidently. Box? Why do you need to box? There's a boy picking on me at school, he confessed reluctantly. And why should anyone pick on you? She said. Tim shrugged. It's just the way things are, he said sadly. At that moment his mum began to cry, and Tim sat next to her and he put his arm around her. Don't cry, Mum. Things will get better, he said. I hope so, she said, dabbing her eyes. Tim looked up at the old family photographs and he thought that he could see a face shimmering in the mirror. It was smoky looking, like net curtains blowing in the wind. Tim stared longer and gradually his dad's face appeared and he was smiling, and then he gave Tim a sly wink. What are you staring at? His mum said. Oh, I'm just daydreaming, said Tim, and a happy glow spread through him like warm porridge. I knew Dad would come back again, he thought. I knew he wouldn't let me down. That night he slept well, and for once he didn't dread the prospect of going to school. He was so determined not to be late that he didn't have time to say hi to Arthur. He knew that he would see him later. Tim wasn't surprised to see Smigger standing outside the school gates. He was scaring all of the children, trying to look fierce, but to Tim he just looked pathetic. There was no way Tim was going to give him any money. It was time to make a stand, he thought. Hello, girl, said Smigger. I'm feeling poor. Have you got my money, girl? No, I haven't, said Tim forcibly, and he looked him squarely in the face. Smigger looked a bit startled, and Tim thought that he could detect a flicker of fear in Smigger's eyes. Give it to me now, Smigger said, raising his voice. All of the school kids around him scattered. They knew that something was bound to happen. Smigger raised his big fist. Give me the money now or else, he said loudly, and moved closer to Tim. Tim clenched his fist as tight as a nut, and he hit Smigger smack in the stomach. Smigger looked stunned for a minute, and then he fell on his knees, winded. Tim stood over him with his fist in the air, and he wasn't sure if he should throw another punch. Forget the money, said Smigger, amid gasps for air. The school kids wondered back, and Tim felt like a champion. A teacher then ran over. What's going on here? The teacher said, looking at Tim accusingly. Oh, it's nothing, said Smigger. His pride dented, and he scrambled to his feet in shock. Tim was relieved. He knew that he had won an important victory. He couldn't wait to tell Arthur.